Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You have, 3 years ago when all of this started, AM Green AM Green didn't exist as AM Green. And, as from Green Co to AM Green, you are leading the race in so many ways. So before we go into your project, tell us a little bit about yourself. What has your journey been like? You're not from the traditional IPP business, like most people have been in the sector. So quick 2 minutes about what your journey has been and how you led yourself here.
Thanks, Nishaanth. Good afternoon, and thanks for having me here. Yes, you're right. I'm not a traditional electron guy. I'm a very grey carbon guy. I come from oil and gas. Spent 20 years in oil and gas with Schlumberger. So it's been kind of greening my own personal self along with the work I do now. So it's been good because I think one thing I always felt from day one, thanks to spending 2 decades in oil and gas, was always knew this was not going to be easy. So when there was a lot of I would call the green hydrogen hype for a couple of years, even then, wherever I could give my 2 cents, I always said this, that the length and breadth of energy that oil and gas and exists today would not be that simple to just do it too quickly, and it has to be a little calibrated. So I guess that was one thing I personally never got carried away and always had this perspective.
It's your own energy transition in your career. So, I think you've come, at the right time, into the right place as well. So a lot of other, traditional IPP businesses weren't able to make the strides that you had achieved. How instrumental was your acquisition in the space, in Andhra Pradesh that put yourself ahead of the race?
No, so I guess, just before this, there was a fantastic session, all my colleagues from the project development world, and they were highlighting, and I really liked the NTPC way of putting it, right? LCO, land, water, that the way land, water, RE, connectivity, right? That was very alive in our minds even back then when we wanted to make green hydrogen, and then decided green ammonia is the best way of making it fungible, at least in the coming decades. So we were trying to answer all those questions. What is the best location of the land? How can you make it move? And when we answered all that, we said, if there is an existing ammonia plant which meets all these criteria, then really it made sense that we just go and redevelop it into a green ammonia plant. So that was, we were basically answering the same questions that everyone was talking about. Which place can we get connectivity, have land, port access, have water availability. So it naturally, we are from Hyderabad, so we kind of had a view of the ecosystem around, and we knew Nagarjuna Fertilizers at that point of time, through their lenders, was going through a restructuring process. It was a big bet at that point of time because there was no off-takers, there was no visibility, where will this go, right? And the gas-based fertilizer business is it's a difficult business, right? So if we took that up and this didn't take off, then there was a big liability on ourselves. But my founders in Green Co, AM Green, they like to take these bets. That's how we all sat around the table, a few of us, and said, if you really want to make a difference and actually build a plant, then this is the risk we have to take. And that's what we did, right? Yeah.
And it's paid off. It's paid off very well, I guess.
Are you yet to see that? Yes, I'm hoping so. Right, we're building the plant now. Clearly, when there's no hiding, the offtake market hasn't matured at the speed and pace at which we thought it will mature. But I would say it's an 1.5 to 2 year delay from what we all thought. It's not. It's not. If you are the right producer at the right cost, I think green ammonia will become a next big energy commodity. you saw coal, you saw gas, oil, then you saw gas, LNG, and then I think green ammonia will indeed become the next big commodity. We still believe that it was the best thing that we could have done, the best move that we made. Maybe there's a bit of a delay in offtake, but yeah, it'll eventually be a very good move that we have made. Yeah.
You know, a lot of the optimism in the green hydrogen and green ammonia space exists because of the electrons guys, right? They are the ones who are usually positive about this, and everyone else, similar to you, who I've spoken, they've never been that positive, right? And you've told me it's still challenging, and you're looking to navigate those challenges. And I think this also leads into the session that we're having today with SECI, which is our town hall, which is now moved to the last session, just for your information as well, Gautam, because you're part of it. At that session, we really need to, help people understand the ammonia business and the traditional business models, how they work, right? Because you can't, you're not used to having 15-year contracts on, in the gray space. So, I look forward to having more of these discussions during that. My other, if you didn't notice, you didn't come for the first session, but there was a list of all the offtake agreements in India. And of course, AM Green had the longest list of offtakers, so you've done fairly well in everything that you've done. So now, when we attend some of the meetings with MNRE and the green hydrogen developers, a lot of issues happen in Orissa, right? Orissa is not doing this, that's only because the projects are happening there. The same way, I'm sure you have a lot of, challenges you've been facing. So I'm sure amongst all the developers, you will have the longest list of complaints. So maybe I want to touch a little bit on that, because these are lessons for everybody else who's going to follow your footsteps as well. And we're here to support each other as an industry collectively. So if you could highlight some of the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them, and what lessons can you provide to, some of our other colleagues here in the room?
No, see, everyone went to Orissa because they were very proactive in coming out with a fantastic state subsidy policy, right? We went because we wanted to solve for land, water, connectivity and those issues. Thankfully, Andhra also has now come out with a good state policy, so that's helping us, which is useful, right? But but generally, I think like some of my more technical colleagues, I'm not a very technical guy, discussed in this from a chemical engineering perspective, there are challenges, right? This is not, yes, there is a back of an envelope design you do and say, you put an ASU, you put an electrolyzer, you get hydrogen, you get nitrogen, and then you make ammonia, but it's not as simple as that. So there is, as our engineering team is, currently diving in, we are getting 650 megawatts of electrolyzers coming in, starting in another 4 months from our friends in John Cockerell. There is a lot of detail, and there's a lot of devil in these details, right? I'm sure, I come from technology business previously. There will be a lot of at least incremental engineering, lessons learned, and sustainable engineering, which is improvements on everything, right? How a valve works in this scenario, how every simple thing like this is being thought of, and as people get more into the details, there are issues, right? There's no two ways around it, right? Just for example, this whole bunch of electrolyzers were installed in China. They were trying to operate them at a very low load factor, 20-30%, and they saw the hydrogen-oxygen mix increasing, and suddenly there were explosions, right? We can't have things like those happening. So for example, how do you solve that? So one of of course, our biggest strength was our pump storage and ability to provide round-the-clock power, but it's never a steady state. You never get 100% power line. So then we had to do a lot of engineering study to understand at what level the current electrolyzer systems can operate at 50-60%, and we can't go below that. So these are some of the learnings that we are going through from a technical perspective. Of course, in Kakinada as well, there is still the connectivity challenge. Obviously, moving first, we are hoping we'll have the advantage of being a first mover. We are, thanks to MNRE and all the support, we are solving for that. Massive government support, honestly, in that. We are hoping that by 2027 the connectivity issue will be solved. And I just like to make one comment here, right? When we started on this journey 3-4 years ago, no one spoke about India, right? Because people didn't understand green hydrogen and green ammonia is solving for power. I'm not any downplaying the importance of electrolyzers and the process plant and all that, but it was primarily solving for power, right? And solving for power, India is blessed. Honestly, it's nothing. It's for all of us, right? India has, this fantastic digital grid, which the government invested close to $20 billion starting from 2010. They didn't do it for green hydrogen, but they did it to, solve the power problems in India, which is fantastic for us. India is a single nation, single grid, a market that's developing, 1.3 billion consuming population. I always say this, I went to Australia to work on a project. We thought we can make it happen. We needed to build a 1,300 kilometer transmission system to move the electrons to the port. Now that just killed the project just there, right? And there is no backup for those electrons. You just have to make ammonia. If in a commodity business, things go up, things go down. If you have to downscale the ammonia production, what do you do with all those electrons? The whole Western Australian grid was 5 gigawatts. It takes 5 gigawatts to build 1 million tons of ammonia. So the difference is humongous in the risks in those aspects. I just wanted to highlight that because the kind of support we have with this, the government backing on the transmission system, the waiver that came through, I think that's, I always say India is not giving $3 IRA because we don't have that kind of money, but the free transmission is equal to at least $1 per kilo of hydrogen, minimum, if it depends on how you calculate it. So that's, so those things, yes, probably pushing a little into 2027 now before we get that connectivity done. But that's fine with the way we are seeing offtakes right now, it works.
I want to comment on something you just said on Australia's grid. It's the same with Egypt or Oman, okay, right? You can't have multiple million-ton projects in these places. And there was something I learned here, which is, you spoke about the commodity cycle in ammonia, right? Which we usually don't tend to, understand or we overlook when we start talking about electrons. So that was also a very good point. What if you have to downscale your production, right? But I think, the landscape is changing. You're going to sign long-term offtakes for this. So my final question, which is, you told me you're getting connected in 27. Are you looking to ship out by early 28?
We are hoping to ship out in 27 itself.
27
right?
Itself? Okay.
Yeah. We have some discussions around that. There are, I think, one very good thing that's happening and which is very positive for all of us is CBAM is starting 26. Right? CBAM is not starting 30. RFNBO is starting 30, but CBAM is starting 26. Now what CBAM is doing is putting pressure on some amount of decarbonization. What that is in turn doing is a lot of CBAM products are finding it easier to decarbonize the value chain outside their production process. Shipping, logistics, infra. So that I think we should all watch out for that space. That space is going to create a demand for e-fuels, green fuels, right? I can definitely see, when we originally thought fertilizers will replace gray ammonia with grey ammonia, that is delayed, So, and that is always going to be a challenge, farmers, food security, there's so many things associated with that. But there are other value chains that are developing that are going to ask for this. So I don't think we'll have to wait all the way to 2030. Those are starting. So if any one of us take the risks and get it done, then I think there will be a market for that. Yeah.
Now the final question, which is binding offtakes, right? When do you see them happening? And what are your comments generally on, it's not just from the AM Green perspective, from the industry perspective as well? When can we see that flurry coming in?
No, they will happen. There's no question about it. I mean, as you can see, a bunch of us met IMO as well. Those, just what I explained, there will be the shipping industry, there will be a refinery industry in Europe that they definitely need something moving by 2030. There is an infrastructure problem. They need to build things like ammonia crackers and so on and so forth, which is probably delaying this a little bit. Like I said, a lot of us were expecting to sign by middle of 2024 last year, but by end of this year, I think there will be definite we signed a binding contract with Uniper, that's in the news. But there'll be a lot more that are going to come out in the next, I would say in the later half of this year, towards the Q4 of this year. Yeah.
Wonderful. We are all looking forward to that and continue the good work that you're doing. Thank you very much, Gautam.
Thank you.